or evening to everyone, depending on where you're watching this right now. Welcome to the virtual career fair live webinar this for this weekend. This week, for today's session, we will be having a very esteemed guest, a person that I've worked with before. So we have Miss Nimala Subramaniam from Agency Counseling dan Pengurusan Kredit AKPK for a webinar entitled Managing Your Finances After Graduation. I'm sure a lot of you have many questions about saving and spending as you begin the transition from being a student to a full-time worker. And if you have any questions, of course, you can drop it in the Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom platform. And also, we'll be also recording and posting it on Facebook Live. So yeah, do ask in your questions. But before we begin our webinar, let's take some time to get people to come into our session. So we'll be having some time off right now. All right, so for those of you who have just joined us either through Zoom or through Facebook Live, once again, welcome to our webinar for today entitled "Managing Your Finances After Graduation." With me we have Miss Nimala Subramaniam from Agency Counseling dan Pengurusan Kredit (AKPK). So right now we're still waiting for people to come in, and we'll be starting shortly. So yeah, just hang back and we'll be starting as soon as possible. All right. Well, very good morning or evening to everyone, depending on where you're watching this right now. Welcome to the Virtual Career Fair 2.0, 3.0, sorry, webinar with Agency Counseling dan Pengurusan Credit. So with us today, we have Ms. Nimala Subramaniam from AKPK, and we'll be talking about managing your finances after graduation. So I'm sure a lot of you have a lot of questions about savings and spendings as you begin the transition from being a student to a full-time worker. So if you have any questions, you can drop it in the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen on your Zoom page, or you can also comment on our Facebook Live page. So yeah, drop in some questions if you guys want them to be answered today. Um, right. So before we begin, Mr. Mala, would you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, good morning or good evening. All right. I'm Nimala here from AKPK, which is known as the Credit Counseling and Debt Management Agency. We are formed under Bank Negara Malaysia in 2006 for a reason to actually help those people who have financial problems and to come up with a restructured repayment plan which is affordable by the borrower and acceptable by the financer. So from the other service, that the main service that we want to offer is actually financial education, where we could actually educate people to prevent them from coming into financial problems. Because one of the main reasons that we saw among the borrowers who came to us with financial problems, we saw that they had financial problems when we did a survey. The main reason they had a financial problem is due to lack of financial planning. And when we dig deeper, why no financial planning? Is due to that they did not know how to plan. So the knowledge was not there. So we are moving towards financial education, trying to help from right after from universities right up to retirement to give the proper guidance so that all these financial problems, lack of planning and wrong purchases, wrong investments can actually be avoided. So I'm actually in the module development unit here, where we actually develop modules and contents that is suitable to the target market that we are addressing to.
Okay. So the people that come to AKPK for your services, who are they exactly? Are they just people who are financially troubled, or like do they vary? Maybe just people wanting to know more about like getting their finances in check.
I would say a big chunk of it are coming to us. The one that are coming to us are mainly those who have financial problems, because that is our core service there in terms of providing this counseling, financial counseling, and we have our debt management program. So for those who have financial problems, like they could not pay up their loans, they would come for a counseling where a counselor would meet them, look at the size of debt they have, the income that they are having, and see what is the most appropriate amount that they can actually pay and sustain. Actually, the most important thing is sustaining, because it's more about getting them to till they kind of like settle all their loans in a holistic level. So that is a big chunk of it. But of course, as I mentioned, that is the part where we are trying to cure the problem. But we also are trying to prevent the problem. So we also have people who come to us in terms of wanting to know, all right, how can they actually have a better budget? How could they actually plan their finances better? So we also have our counseling and our education part of that. But I would say majority of those who are coming to us are still of those who have financial problems and are trying to get out of the problem.
Okay. So I'm assuming a lot of the people that come to you are actually youths, people who are just like, just getting loans from their first car for their houses, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah,
A
is there anything that you
combination
can
of
share
loans
about that?
could be actually more. where you have people with credit card, hire purchase, personal loan, housing loan, a combination of loan. That's our majority profile, I would say. A lot of them would, I mean, this is our observance. I would say it's like not a documented one, but more of like an observance. Like the moment a person graduates, he or she would want to buy a car, and they would actually go for a higher purchase loan. The problem is that, or they would be actually given a credit card upfront. And many of us would say that, oh, okay, I'm keeping this card for emergency purposes, but emergencies happen in places that it's not supposed to happen, like, for example, at shopping complex. Then they would tend to use up these cards, and the more they use, and they would come to a point where they can't actually pay it up. And it will come to a point that, all right, to settle this card, they would go for another card and do a balance transfer. So now they have two cards, and they will still continue to use the card even after they have settled it via balance transfer. And so now they have two cards with the full amount, and then they can't pay. So now they will go for the third loan. It could be either a personal loan or another credit card. So this is the trend where we see many consumers are actually, to settle one loan, we are going for other loans. So we keep digging the holes. And due to this, the debt, the size of debt accumulates. Yeah. So this is a common factor that we see. Most of these loans started with one small loan, and it just accumulated by us acquiring new loans after new loans to settle the ones before, thinking that, yeah, that's the best way. So what we see majority would be a combination of loan, credit cards, personal loans, and of course housing loan. And the amounts are like, mostly, if you were to ask, it will be more of this scenario. I'm actually closing one loan by opening another. So that's a very common scenario actually.
I think like that thing about credit cards, right? How you said they do a balance transfer between one card to the first card, right? I think one thing that also needs to be pointed out is the fact that those balance transfers usually come with additional interest compared to like the annual APR that a credit card would actually give. Like for example, here in the US, I think the APR is for example 24%, right? But if you do a balance transfer, it can be it's a different amount. It's definitely a higher amount, and you'll be charged on that, I think, daily, if I'm not mistaken, and that actually increases the amount that you owe. That actually piles up your debt. So it's a very bad thing to do, because it leaves you in a bigger trouble. Yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
it will, but it depends on what kind of facility are you taking it. Previously, yes, it was daily calculated. Yeah, that's where you got to be very clear with the financer that you're going with. It's fine if you have found a better deal who's actually giving you a lower interest rate, but more benefit, but you've got to make it really clear. You've got to understand the terms and conditions, especially those in the fine print, because sometimes they would say, yeah, it's a zero installment for the next 6 months if you do the balance transfer. So you're not going to pay any interest for the amount that you transfer. But you've got to ensure that whatever new transactions that you do, how would that be calculated as well? So these are some of the things that you have to make it clear with, or you have to understand seriously what's in the term. If you don't, then you've got to ask the financer. But the main danger is, we are trying to close, probably you have with this credit card and you have an owing of 10,000 and with an annual interest of 18%. And so, okay, another bank offers you, all right, you can do a balance transfer, but we give you a rate of 12%, 3%, or maybe even 0% for the next 6 months. But you must make sure that within the next 6 months you have actually settled the full sum, on the installment that was prepared. Because what if you default? What are the interest rate? What is the interest rate going to be like? Or what if like you can't make it within the 6 months? So thereafter, would it come under cash advance category? Because once it does come under the cash advance category, then yeah, as you mentioned, the interest will be calculated on a daily basis. So they have to ensure. But the most important thing is, if I transfer this loan in order to actually get on track back, I want to reduce my rate, I want to pay on a rate that I can afford to, he or she must ensure that they close the old completely. For example, that if I transferred my balance to another card, I should by all means close this card once and for all, because if I still keep this card, I will start to accumulate new debts. So if the main reason is, okay, I'm turning a new life, they would say, no, I don't want any more credit card debt. I just want to transfer, and so that I can continue to pay. I can actually have a more reduced interest rate, more reduced repayment. I just want to concentrate to pay, then that should be it. So they should close all other cards and just concentrate to pay this. The problem always comes is when I don't close that old loan completely, and that will still open and give me opportunity to keep accumulating my debts via credit card. So that's the problem with credit cards actually. We don't know when to stop. That's the biggest problem. We just don't know when is our limit, where is our limit. It's not the credit card limit, because they have to give you about 25,000, 30,000 ringgit. That like, obviously it's not your monthly salary. So it's definitely not within your limit. So they're not asking you to use up to the max of the limit, but it's up to the amount that we can actually pay up. So many of us don't know when to stop actually.
Okay, yeah, that is very, I think it's, as we move towards a more materialistic kind of world, it's definitely something that everyone should be concerned about, because if you don't manage your spending, you might just end up in being heavily in debt, and that's going to be a very big problem for everyone. It's not just the person involved, it's sometimes when you, like for example, if you borrow money from ahlongs to pay off your debts, you'll be like endangering your family. It's a long chain of reactions that will be very bad for everyone around you. We also have a question from Facebook Live. So the question is, how does the credit score system work in Malaysia? Like in the US, we have a credit score system that's called the FICO system, and that is like, it gives you like your rating, and that based on that rating, you also can apply on. They also be looking at the ratings when you apply for loans, for more credit cards, and that will determine your interest rates and all that. So how does Malaysia have that sort of system, and how does it work if we do have it?
Right. Basically, we do have a credit rating system for all loans that you apply via the financial institutions, the banks mainly. They would actually check through your records. Okay. What we look at here is your credit worthiness to see, have you been a good paymaster or not? That's one of the main criteria. So they would look through two systems as mainly. Of course, they have their internal system, but mainly they will look through your SICRIS report, which is known as the Central Credit Reference Information System by Bank Negara. In this system, it will show you that all the loans that you have taken from the finances, the banking institution mainly, and how much is it, what is it about, what loan is it, and the amount that you took, and also your 12 months credit payment history. So you can actually view that if this guy has been a good paymaster or not. So if he has been a good paymaster, then of course there is a good clean record. But if he has defaulted for a month, 2 months, 3 months, then most likely he loses on his credit rating score overall. Then we have another system called CTOS, the Credit Tip-Off Services. So this is more of like once the client or the borrower has gone into a litigation proceeding. For example, there are legal actions taken against him or her. So that now the the institution would say, okay, so once this guy has a legal action or legal suit against him in terms of recovering debt, then obviously he's not a good paymaster. So this will definitely drop his credit rating further. Of course, the other part is they also take in consideration of the affordability. So what is the debt to income ratio that's there? So the higher the debt to income ratio it is, obviously his credit score drop to, his rating drop to. So these are the few main factors that the bank will look at to determine whether I could actually approve the loan for him or not based on the credit rating that he get. Consumers are advised to check on their credit rating prior to taking a loan. We would always advise a client that if you want to take a loan, go and check on your own rating first. You can actually do that via this report, which is accessible to all the clients or borrowers, consumers. So they should do a check on their own first before even approaching or before even thinking of proceeding to buy a house or to take a car loan or to take any kind of loan, so that you would know your situation first before you actually put up the application. So maintaining a good credit record is very, very important. If there are any issues, then you definitely got to settle them, and then get a letter, get a thing that you are clean, that only it can be considered to be approved.
Okay. We also have another question from our attendees. So the attendee is asking, if I don't take any loans or have a credit card, will it be hard for me to get a loan when I need it? Say for like a car ke, a house ke kan?
Yeah. If you are above 30, 35 and you have not taken any loan and you just wanted to buy a house or buy a car, yes, it will be an issue because you were invisible to the banking institution. You were not there in their record. So it's like quite tough for them to actually determine what kind of paymaster you are. Because you got to understand, in loans, the older you are, the higher the risk is. So they would definitely want to do a further check on you. So it's not advisable to be totally invisible to the banks unless you have high collateral, you have high deposits with that financial institution. Then yes, they will hold that amount as collateral, they can approve. But if not, they will say that no, there's no record. It's quite tough. So it's actually advisable to take at least a small loan, but maintain it well, have a good clean record, and that is what would be, that would enable you to get another loan.
Okay. So would you say that everybody goes through financial problems at some point? And would you care to share some of your stories about it, like the things that you've heard about people?
I guess all of us do go through some point of time in life. It could be sooner, it could be later, it could be always, it could be seldom. But I think it is a common thing that we face. So it's nothing to be ashamed of. But what makes the person different is actually how fast or what actions do they take to recover from it. Many times we do see people who don't acknowledge that they have a problem, and that is a more serious problem actually. If they have acknowledged, congratulations, that's the first step and the most important step. And next, they would actually have to analyze, look into it, and seek help. We have the cases that come to AKPK. I would definitely congratulate them because they have acknowledged that they have a problem and they are looking for a solution, not like many who are out there who refuse to actually admit or even acknowledge the fact that they are facing a problem. So we have seen cases, various cases. Some are due to their own issues, their own reasons. Some are due to external factors, like in case of retrenchments. So this is like beyond their control, but things do happen. They lose their job and they had not actually planned well for it. So these are things that a sudden shock, and it can actually uh, turn everything upside down. So this is something that would require a more different kind of approach that we see. But of course, we also have those who had made some mistakes. For example, I had this very young youth who actually came, and he was in trouble because he bought two cars, one for himself and one for his girlfriend. So we always say that money is something that you have to think about. And the car that he bought for his girlfriend, she did not pay. He could not pay because initially when he started working, he was in the sales line and his commission was really good. It was high. So he thought he could afford it, and he committed to two cars. And over the years, issues happened, sales dropped, and he could not cope. So this is this is like a common mistake. We always tend to commit to a loan or a purchase with an income that is not permanent. Sales commission are something that's not permanent. You don't always get it. It could be at times high, at times low. So these are the things that, in fact, same with overtime. So when we look at all this, these are the things that we see that, yeah, it's not permanent. It's something that we should not actually calculate as our affordability. It should not come in because it's not the basic amount that we get. So, if you're doing business, you don't get a fixed amount too. So you can't actually commit to something big without actually looking at what's my average income. What are the times that I don't really make good and the times that I do. So I have to average it out and take this one sum as, oh, this is my income, so that I don't overcommit myself just like this guy. This is some common mistakes that they make. You know, when you're young and you think, no, yeah, it's fine, this income is going to be forever. No, not necessarily. So you got to really calculate them well. The other thing that a lot of them make mistakes for is, as I mentioned, when you take up a loan, ensure that it is for a productive purpose. And we do see cases where they tend to think that, all right, this investment should be good and I should actually take up a loan and invest in this business, or I invest in this scheme because I will be getting returns soon. You know, I am pretty sure. So, but when you take up a loan to invest, you have to ensure that the returns that you're getting from the investments are more higher than the cost that you're paying for the loan, and is realistic, is something genuine. And this is where they don't look and see, all right, is this authorized, is this legal? All I see is the returns. They promise me a high returns. The returns are close to about 100% of the amount that I actually invested. So that's too good to be true. I've also seen cases in this aspect where they have actually made into wrong investments, and mainly they use personal loans to get into these investments, gold investments, forex investments. I have seen a guy who went on the internet forex trading, and he was using up his credit cards to buy and sell, and came up to a point that, yeah, he was not getting any return. And he lost everything, and his credit card debt was close to about 45,000 ringgit, and he's only in his 20s. So that, like, really a huge amount, and now you've got to work really hard to pay up this sum of money. I've also seen people who have actually taken up loans where you would think that, yeah, this is not something bad. Many think that this is something I have to do, which is getting married. I mean, of course, getting married is something that you want to do, but in terms of the wedding expenses, they think it's normal. It's kind of a norm to actually use personal loans to finance their wedding, because everybody else is doing it, and it's for a good cause. I'm getting married, but what we fail to see is after marriage, do we actually are we actually going to spend more? Can we actually afford it? And many will say, yes, I can, because after marriage, I have two income. My partner and I both are working, so it should not be a problem for us to pay. But they forget to see that after marriage, it could be a two income, but three expenses. You have kids coming, you have other commitments coming, you have house commitments now. You have actually your commitments will grow. So then you might face problem paying up for this loan, because it's not a short-term loan that you took. You took probably a 10-year loan. And within 10 years, there's so many other things that will come up. So taking a loan for marriage is definitely a no-no. I've seen clients who have taken credit card debts up to about 30,000, 40,000 just for the one-day ceremony. And it takes up about 10 years for them to actually pay for that one-day ceremony. So, and in terms of interest, how much more are they actually paying? So this is something that the mistakes that many youth make. And this is something that we want to tell, all right, if it's coming to a loan, please consider three factors. Number one, why are you taking the loan? Ensure the reason you're taking the loan is for a productive purpose, meaning that you're buying something or acquiring something that will actually grow your net worth, like buying a house. So I'm actually going to grow my net worth. So these are the type of loans that I would want to see, investing, but it must be a good investment. Number two is my affordability. Ensure that I do not, I maintain a good ratio. It should not be more than 40% of my income. So meaning to say the monthly installment that I'm paying for this loan should not be more than 40% of my income. The banks or the finances may offer you up to 60%, but we say always maintain a ratio of 40%. So 40% is for loan repayment, 60%, 10% is for your savings, and 50% is for your living expenses. And number three, like we discussed earlier, please ensure that you have a good credit record, a good credit rating. Ensure that your records are always clean, and so that it will not jeopardize your chances of getting any loan. So always think about these three factors prior to making any decision of taking up a loan.
Okay. Well, next question would be, what advice can you give to youths as they prepare themselves for such circumstances, when they get married, things like that? Is there like a specific amount of money that they need to be saving, things like that?
I mean, marriage, we will always remember this. Invest in your marriage, not on the wedding ceremony. It's just a one-day event. So please ensure that you are planning it out well. And what amount do you want to spend is totally up to your affordability. If you want to have a grand wedding, then you should start preparing for it early. You should start planning. You should start investing now, saving aside a sum of money. But you have to make a list of things that you want to do. If you want to have a simple wedding, so what's the most important thing? So you have all these things listed down, you have all this amount listed down, and then you try to save for that. And never borrow for a wedding, because it's not a lifestyle actually. And the problem with many of us is we want to do everything at that one go. You want to have that grand wedding, you want to have that grand honeymoon, you want to have the house ready with all furniture and everything ready in, everything in a short period of time. So that could sometimes lead us to a huge amount of debt. If you can't afford that honeymoon overseas now, it's okay to postpone. I mean, you're going to live forever together. It's okay to postpone it for an anniversary, perhaps. So it's about actually planning. All right, if I'm going to graduate next year, and if let's say I probably get into a job with this kind of salary, and I have all these commitments, and I can only save this much. So you would think, okay, if I'm going to get married in the next 5 years, and this is the amount that I can save up with, so you can actually know roughly what is the amount that you are going to have. And you should actually plan for a wedding with that amount that you might have. Not so much on things that is beyond your affordability. It's quite tough actually, because you'll be pressured. You'll be pressured with parents' expectations, friends' expectations, family's expectation, your future wife or husband's expectation, their family's expectation. So it's a huge amount of struggle here actually. It's not going to be easy choice, but at the end of the day, but you and the partner should actually sit, think, talk about it beforehand, be clear, be honest. Yeah, it's not about promising things under the sun, moon, and then it still ends up in problem. So it's about being very clear, and this is the amount you can. But just remember this: investing in the marriage is far more important than investing in the wedding. So stick with this slogan and plan it out well. There are things the ones they like, but with proper planning, and they don't have to take up any kinds of loan. So a loan for that is definitely a no-no. The other major decision I would say that most youth would make is buying a car. The moment I graduate, I need transport, I need car to go to work, I need something. And even when buying for a car, I would always say look at your affordability and need rather than the pride of the car. It's two different things, So it's like I want to buy a car, make sure I know that I can afford to pay the installments, not only with the installments, but also on the maintenance of the car. Many of us fail to see the maintenance part. We want to buy a car, we look at our salary, we see the loan amount, I can afford. But that's just paying up the loan. Whereas you have this services, maintenance that comes in, which is a big chunk of it. Paying for petrol, paying for parking, toll, maintenance, service, insurance, your road tax that you have to pay on a yearly basis. So this amount we normally fail to see. So sometimes committing to a big car because there was a good discount, good offer, I want to drive that Continental car, but I forgot to see that can I actually maintain that with this salary. So that's another main mistake I would say a lot of youth make. They buy cars, pay, but they can't maintain. And that will lead them to using their credit cards further so that they can maintain that lifestyle that they have started. So, and it leads, like as I mentioned earlier, from one loan to another loan.
Regarding when we talk about assets such as cars, right? What should people when they especially youths when they get their first paychecks, what should be on their mind? Should they be focusing on buying a car, or should they invest for a house, or maybe some other form of investment?
If let's say a car is not a necessity to them, they are not living in an area where there is no single bus or train or public transport, Grab will never want to come into your area because it's so secluded. Other than that, I think everywhere else public transport is accessible, but still back to their necessity. If car is not their necessity at that point of time, then I would definitely recommend to postpone that purchase. It's still not a need yet. They should, focusing on a house probably is too soon. They may not have that capacity yet. But probably they should actually focus on other investments. They should start young. invest in investments that they know they can learn about with the right parties. They can actually check with the regulators like security commissions if you're investing in Malaysia. You could actually check with Bank Negara if you're working with Malaysia, you are in Malaysia, and you can actually check up with the right parties and start small, even with 1,000 ringgit as your startup. You can actually start a lot of investments, and then you make sure that you have these monthly deposits towards it with the unit trust or anything. So you can have this target of, okay, within the next 5 years, I'm going to collect and save up to this amount. And the moment I get this amount, then maybe I would think about investing in a property, and I already have that amount. But I can still continue to diversify my investments, certain amount in my unit trust, certain in share market, certain in some kind of fixed deposit, low risk, high risk, medium risk. So I have diversified my portfolio, because you must remember, the younger you start, the more it benefits because of this time money value, your compounding interest effect. So it actually benefits you in a long term. So if you can afford to avoid the car, maybe you should avoid the car, because a car comes with a lot of expenses. So like I say, it's still back to your necessity. So all this extra amount, if you can actually take up an investment, there are a lot of people who have done it this way, and they are able to buy properties, they are able to have huge amount of savings before even they reach 30 or 35. Then they can even buy the car then when the need arises. Actually, plan your finances more according to the need, rather than, oh, everybody is doing it, everybody is getting it, everybody, so I must also be in that factor. A lot of youth are pressured with this term called FOMO, fear of missing out. I feel that I am not part of it. I am not part of this. I cannot post my car in Insta. So that's all a pressure, peer pressure, right? But rather than that, focus on what is your need rather than what is normal and what everybody else is doing, and plan accordingly to that.
Right. Sorry about that. Right. We have another question from the audience. It's from Facebook as well. We're receiving a lot of questions actually right now. So the question goes: if I have a mortgage loan in Malaysia and I have extra money, should I pay off the loan as soon as possible, or use the money to invest maybe in stocks in the US? Could you talk about the trade-offs between these two, and how does it relate to one's risk appetite?
It's still back to your risk appetite. Okay, it depends. If you are going to be able to earn more than the cost of borrowing for your property, then why not, right? Meaning to say, if you're paying here about 3% for your property, and there you would be able, through this investment, make sure it's legal, make sure it's right, make sure it's regulated. If you can earn more than 3% or 4%, you maybe 6-7% on the investment, then why not? For the 1-2 years or 3 years, you will actually save up there, and with all the extra dividends you get, you can actually settle off the housing loan here, but you have actually earned two places. So you could think, it all depends on which one profits you more. But always ensure that you are gaining more. So, but if you're going to take a credit card loan and then say that I'm going to invest because I want to make money, then obviously no, because you'll probably be paying higher loan, higher borrowing rather than the returns you get. So that's the rule. Make sure your returns are higher. In terms of whether it is benefits, right? Yeah, definitely. I mean, looking at which one gives you more, that's the rule of thumb in investment. So you can actually look into settling your housing loan if, for example, the interest that you're paying is really high. So then, yeah, then you focus on clearing the loans with higher interest. But if you have that cash a bit and you think of paying up for or investing in something that you can be sure of getting a higher return, then why not? But the important factor is make sure the investments are legal, make sure they are regulated, make sure you understand about the investments. Many of them enter the share market without actually understanding it. The one is you need the knowledge. The other one is you have to have, in this investment, we always say you have to have the IQ and the EQ. You have to be able to control emotions. Many investors fail to control emotions. They get overly excited or they get this thing, and they can't control themselves, can't control the greed thought, and that's when they tend to lose. So if you're planning to do that, please read up about the investments. I'm sure they have regulators there and they have their websites there. They have tutorials on or videos or articles on share market. Then you would. The key factor is you need to understand it.
Okay. Right. So yeah, I guess it is something that a lot of people are actually learning about it. Even in my classes that I'm taking now, that my peers are taking now, a lot of them actually teach you to actually invest. So like they give you like $5. Okay, here's $5 for you. You go. You go
Where
to.
would you invest?
Yeah, where would you invest? You know, and at the end of the day, the person with the most amount of investment at the end of the day will get to take that investment, you know, as like as an incentive for what they're doing in the class. And I think that that sort of education is very, you know, important for people, especially if they want to go through, like what you said, it's better to go to do it with some knowledge than without any, and then end up being a problem, right?
Yeah, now it's all in your fingertips actually. Everything is accessible on the net, but do it with the regulators, authorized dealers. You know, that's the key thing, because there are many people. Being online is good and bad. If you get the wrong information, you get from people who are actually trying to scam or provide illegal investments. So that's something that's the main thing that you have to be careful of. Sometimes the returns are so good to be true, and you know, we get carried away. So always remember, emotions are very important here. You need to focus. You need to understand. If you don't understand, probably getting a mentor is good. You know, moving people who do invest, learn from them, learn the trade. Yeah, so that's probably, you know, sometimes some people don't understand figures and numbers by looking at it, but maybe when somebody else does it, you really get to see and you watch and you understand it better. So maybe a mentor would also be a good suggestion. I mean, it's good if you start early. So even with that $5 that you have, you could actually probably plan to see how you could actually double up the amount.
Okay. Moving on to our next question. What should fresh graduates actually do with their income? How should they spend it?
Okay, coming back, start with savings first. The moment you get your income, the first expenses should be your savings. So ensure that this is, if you're coming back to Malaysia, you're working in Malaysia, you have your statutory deductions, you have your savings that's compulsory, but this is on top of that. So after your net, if you can, your commitments are low, you save up to 30% of your income. So save first and then look at the balance to spend. Of course, you have, some might have loan commitments, their education loan commitments. So focus, prioritize the loan repayment then. And then, of course, your living expenses, at least you would still need about 50% of your income for your living expenses, provided if you're staying with your parents, then you're lucky. Maybe most of it are taken care of. But if you're staying on your own, then yeah, you have to look into your rental, your thing. So like say if you have 30% off for savings, 50% off for your living expenses, so that's almost 80, And then if you have loan, then make sure it's below 20%. Don't acquire new loans. Entertainment and also that's like included. The more you can save, the younger you are, it's better, because the older you get, your commitments grow, so the savings portions get smaller. So start right, start saving. When you save that 30%, let's say 5%, you put it for your emergency. So things might pop up, things that you don't plan always pops up. So at least keep those that in FD, fixed deposit. The rest you start investing. Some in unit trusts, some in share market. You can even look into buying commodities like gold, but from the right party. So diversify. You probably have short-term, medium-term, long-term goals. Short-term within a year, maybe you put a target, what you want to achieve. Medium-term within 3 years, what do you want to achieve. And then longer-term. We have seen people who have financial goals actually have better financial management. We did a survey on our APPES, our survey on behavior on working adult. And it did show that people who had financial goals have better financial planning. They actually follow, they actually do it. So the first thing I would say, coming out and getting a job, set your goals right. Have a goal, have a financial goal. Put up your goals, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, what do you want to do? Not talking about big goals yet. Small goals that you want to achieve, and then start focusing. So let's say 1 year you put up, okay, I'm trying to save this much by end of this year. So now you work out your budget. Next is you have to plan out what you have. So okay, this is my salary, this is my expenses, this is I can save to earn to come up to this sum by end of this year. I want to go for that holiday, I want to save up this much. So you draw up your plans, then you start moving towards that. So you have to continuously have a goal, put a plan, follow the plan, review the plan as well. Go back after a year, see, okay, did I actually achieve all this? Yeah. So having a goal will actually drive us to do what we want to do. Tracking it is very important. So make sure you also have any kind of tracking. Do their budget on what they think. That's why it always never work. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, my connection, it just froze just now, but it's okay. Yeah, okay. But
yeah,
when we
as I
talk
was
about
saying,
yeah.
yeah, it's like more of they would spend, or they would do their budget more on the amount that they think they spend, but it may not be accurate. So that's why their budget never helps them. So try to get the accurate spending by tracking your expenses, so that your budget is actually more accurate, more correct, and you can actually have a better budget or a better estimation of what you're going to need. So start that habit now, actually. Even as a student, track your expenses so that you get into that habit of tracking. So when you actually have a work, or you get a job, it's not going to be that tough for you to continue that habit.
Okay, but when we talk about spending, right, it's definitely
Yeah.
easier said than done lah, kan? Yeah, so when we talk about spending, it's definitely easier said than done. So
Yeah, of course.
what what would you recommend for people? Like, how should they start to sorry, when we talk about savings, it's definitely easier than done. So what would you recommend to people when they want to start saving?
There are many ways to save. Choose something that is easy for you. For example, it's good to save before you spend. That's one of the best way, I would say. The moment you get money into your account, the salary comes in, your allowances comes in, just take a certain portion of it, a small amount or an amount that you can afford, and move it to a different account. So as long as it's not in that account, it can actually help you. Like I do that when I want to plan for my holidays. I actually start buying the currency. So the moment I buy the currency, like for example, you buy US dollar, I mean, even you're back here, or you buy some other currency, the tendency for you to spend that amount is stopped because you need to go and change, you need to go and convert it back. So it's quite tough for you to spend it. So you will actually tend to keep. So that's one way that you can think of saving. The other is probably transferring to a different account and you don't have easy access to that account. So that could be done too. Don't always remember this rule. Your savings account that your salary goes in or your allowances goes in should have a zero balance at the end of the month. It's just a transactional account. So you don't save there actually. You move your money out here and there. So then you don't have much to spend because you have moved them all away. So you only keep the amount that you can afford to spend that. So it's more of a transactional account. Because if you just leave all your money there to be saved, it's not going to be safe. You will finish it off. So move them off upfront before you even think. Yeah, this is the same aspect that if you go to a shop and you don't carry your debit card, credit cards, and you only have $10 or 10 ringgit in your wallet, you can only spend that. You cannot spend anything more than that. So the same concept. You can even start saving with small changes, $1 a day. You know, you just start saving $1 a day, and that can lead to $365 in a year. So that could be a huge amount too. You could even start $2 a day. You could choose your favorite. If you're back in Malaysia, you can choose your favorite color. If you like green, then you save the green. So it's all 5 ringgit saved. You could choose 10 ringgit. You could choose, of course, not the purple. That's quite rare that you get in common in quite often, right? So various ways. This is small manners of saving, and you save small, and you could actually get big. But it's about getting that habit of saving. Or you could even save up your loose change, and that could actually help up in gaining. And some people, every time they spend, they save. If I were to spend 10 ringgit, I'm going to save $1. I'm going to spend $10, I'm going to save $1. So every $10 they spend, they save $1. So that will also like refrain myself from actually spending. It sounds silly and small things, but a lot of people have actually started savings via this way. They find something that suits them. They find something that encourages them probably. Have your holiday pictures, the destination that you want to go right in front of you every day. So that encourages you to actually save towards that because you're looking for it. Have that dream car of yours in front of you every day. So that, okay, to buy this, I've got to save. I can save, so that's the habit of coming to that. So find a way, find a color, find a tactic, find a method. But the easiest I would say is saving it before you actually spend it. So that's the habit that you must get. The moment you get one amount of money into your account, move it. Just move it. And remember, savings account, just zero balance, just my transactional account. Whereas my savings for my goals will be kept maybe in FD, maybe in short-term investments, so you kind of like move them around.
Yeah, I really think that that's a very good idea. Like for me, what I do with my money is I would transfer all I'll transfer a fixed amount of all the things that I need to pay for, my bills, my rent, everything into one account, so that the
Yeah,
other account is just like for me to spend on,
save,
whatever I want to do.
spend.
Yeah. Yeah.
So kind of like diversify. So you find another account for your savings. So you move them around. So the one that you're using for expenses is just transactional and it will be zero. You don't want to save that. You're moving it to the ones that can give you better returns.
I really think that people should be more aware of that. I really hope, because I really hope they start to, like, if they're listening in today, they do start on doing that, because for me personally, I see how it's very helpful, and it allowed me to like manage my finances better, definitely. All right. So before we wrap up, could you talk about what AKPK have in store for fresh graduates looking to learn about financial education?
Oh, we have talks like this that we do. We have good financial programs. Are going to have some public programs. So please like our Facebook page, AKPK, Insta pages. So we'll be announcing all our public programs there. We have some good ones coming up. I'm sure many of you all are interested in alternative investments. People are talking about P2P investments. People are talking about cryptocurrencies. People are talking about crowdfunding. So, I mean, the terms are new, but what are these? So we are having some public talks about that coming up soon. How would youth invest? We just actually are planning to set up another one. Retirement, what do you think about that? It's not too young, yeah? Nobody is young for retirement. It just comes by the time you know it, and it's always good to start the rule. Please start with your first paycheck. So, we want to talk about that early. Even we have talks coming on entrepreneurship, because we are on the slogan of not become the youth. Yeah, in Malaysia, even our education policy, one of it, I would say dream or mission, is like become a job creator instead of a job seeker. So many youth, I'm sure you guys want to become an entrepreneur. So we're also going to have talks on that. So whatever it is that we also have our microsite pages, akpk.org.my, at askakpk.org.my. We have our websites, we have Facebook, we have our Insta. Please like us, please follow up. And of course, when you come, we can have sessions like this continuously. We provide this financial education because we believe that everybody should seek for knowledge before they actually decide to do anything. Now, if you want to buy, if you are actually thinking about, and I love all the questions, thank you so much. You're thinking about, should I settle up my loans before I actually invest here? So whatever you do, try to weigh things up, look up on the internet, but always remember to check with the right authority. That's very, very important. Yeah. So we can provide you all these programs or linkage or at least advice. Maybe we may not be the expert of that, but we could actually tell you, okay, probably you can look for this here. So financial education is something that we can give. And if you want individual counseling on financial matters, we could also provide that at our premises.
Okay, guys, there you have it. So many resources actually that AKPK provides for people, not just for youth, but also of people from the various lapisan masyarakat, as they say, right?
If you have family members, sorry, Anusi. If you have family members who who have that problem, please refer them to us. I can't forget that. So when you mentioned about, if you know anybody else, So sometimes you may not be in problem, but others who are in financial problems. It can lead to very serious depression if it's not given any solution. So please, you can actually ask them to refer to AKPK. And our services to individuals are free. We do not charge individuals who come to us for financial counseling or to get into our debt management program. So do spread out the word too.
All right. So thank you everyone for participating. Thank you for your questions and thank you for tuning in. I'm sure AKPK, especially Mr. Mala, appreciates your time. Everyone taking your time, even though it's like pretty late in the US right now. So if you missed out some of the session, you can watch the recorded version of this webinar on Seeds Job Fair's Facebook page and the event page. Don't forget to participate in the US VICAF for more webinars, and do drop in your resumes to your companies of interest as we proceed with the virtual career fair. I'm pretty sure if you guys have any other questions, I'm pretty sure some of you guys still have more questions, but we'll leave that to AKPK for today because we are running short on time. Once again, thank you for participating, and yeah, do have a good night, Malaysia. Have a good night, USA, and have a good morning, Malaysia.
Thank you, Mohsin. Thank you for the opportunity and thank you all.
All right, thank you, Pushamala.